welcome. My name's Shanna from Caffeinated Craftiness, and I am hopping around with Team Tiny today on a Case the Creator hop. I am casing the uber talented Danielle Brown. I will link to her YouTube and her Instagram in the description below. I am casing this congrats card. It is a Slimline Shaker card that I'm copying into a happy birthday card. Case means to copy and share everything. So in this case, I am going to copy and share her congrats card. I started with a pre-inked background using the Trinity Slimline stitched borders. The two distress oxides I used were Worn Lipstick and Spice Marmalade. So I like to keep my panel all together with a little bit of washi tape on the back. Added just a little bit more because right now I'm going to use the Slimline Confetti stencil, also from Trinity Stamps. It's a two-piece layered stencil. I am just showing you guys, it's actually labeled so you can choose side A and B. I don't generally care what side I do first, but it does help you with aligning it later. So I'm just going to use some kind of neutral colors to go over with the confetti. In this case, it'll be hickory smoke, and I'll follow later with some mustard seed for the second one. The easiest way I find to use these stencils is to tape my card to the back side. It just keeps things from moving around, and I don't have to worry about the stencil shifting. So this is the hickory smoke, and I'm just using a blending brush. This happens to be the Trinity Stamps Blending Buddy, and I'm just going to loosely ink over it. I'm not too worried about making sure it's super dark because I really want this to be more of a faded texture for the background. I did speed this up a little bit so you guys didn't have to watch me stencil in slow motion, but this is where I am layering the second stencil over. You can see the etching on the stencil. It helps you keep them aligned. I kind of wasn't paying attention and had to fiddle with it a little more. The good thing about the confetti stencil is at the end of it, it really doesn't matter where you put it. I ended up just placing it in a spot that looked pleasing to my eyes and came back in with that mustard seed distress oxide and blended the second layer. Mustard seed gave me just a little more contrast against my orange and pink background, but still didn't stand out super much, or a lot, excuse me, to where I thought it overpowered the primary colors. At this point, I'm going to take off most of my tape, but I'm going to leave some of it on so when I flip this back over to glue the squares down to my card base, they don't move around, or at least that was my initial plan. You'll see that I actually tore my panel. I'll end up just fixing that with a little bit of tape afterwards. And then my initial plan didn't work all that well, so in honor of transparency, I'm going to show you guys my bloopers. It didn't work as I wanted to, and really I think I should have just laid the panel down and kind of jigsawed the squares in for placement to glue to my background. This is just a 7 by 8.5 piece of paper that I'm going to score in half to make my card base. So score it 3.5, so I end up with a 3.5 by 8.5 card base for my slimline card. And this is where my bloopers start to come in. So I am just taking some liquid adhesive and I just want to do the squares. In all my wisdom, I thought I'd be able to get to that washi tape easy enough, and yes, I got to it, but they kind of shifted around a little bit. So I took this back on and ended up just lining that one up that had moved and fixing it that way. You can still see my tear. I'm actually going to just add some more tape and a little bit more liquid glue there, and it doesn't really show by the time I'm all done. I just adhered a piece of acetate to the top to help with my shaker so it holds in all my little sequin bits and they don't come falling out. So I'm going to do a double layer of foam tape. How I do this is take one long piece and then fold it over on itself. That way I can line it up without getting it all stuck to things. So I'm just covering the entire frame and including the sections in between. So I'll end up with 3 little windows all encased in the foam tape, making it really easy to stick down to my card base, and it actually gives that frame a little bit of support. Slimlines have a lot of real estate to cover, so those crossbars I find make for a sturdier card. Still going with full disclosure, this is going to be blooper I think 2. I am peeling the foam tape off a little off screen because I tend to argue with it, but you're going to see here in a minute I only partially peeled up the pieces. That way I have more of a release and I have a little bit of wiggle room when I go to stick it down. But what am I missing? I realized almost a second as I put it on, I didn't have my sequins in there. So taking a couple sequin mixes, I'll link to them in the description below. These are some little clay hearts and I mixed them in with some rainbow sequins. So here is where I have blooper number 3. I've done it this way before, but I don't think I've ever done it with the half release paper peeled back. So when I flipped my card, obviously they went everywhere. So we started over. I took them all out and scooched them to the side. Still going to use them. Take 3. I'm just going to pile them in the middle of all the squares and then lay the top panel on top. This way I can still keep my thing flat and I don't have to worry about them falling out on me. So peeling out the rest of the release paper, when I had to maneuver it again, I lost one of them, so this is me arguing with it a little bit to get it down. And we have the shaker element of the card done. Next up is a happy birthday die. This is the Scripty Happy Birthday from Trinity Stamps. I cut 3 of them and then I glued them all together so they made a little sturdier of a die cut. I do like to thicken up them, especially if it's going to be on top of a card. I find it adds just a little bit more dimension and it's easier for me to glue down. It's not losing its shape. So here it is all glued together and I am working on placement. Decided I was going all the way across the card just like Danielle had did. And I'm just going to take some wet adhesive and glue it down. So after I am all done gluing, that actually finishes up today's card. I hope you enjoyed my card and I hope I did my casing of Danielle justice. Be sure to click the hashtag in the title. It's going to link up to the rest of the Team Tiny members that are hopping today with their Case the Creators. There's a lot of great projects out there, guys. Here's a final look at mine. I hope you have a great day. Stay crafty and stay safe. Thank you. Bye-bye.